Morning, everybody. I'm going to do a little live update along with today's teaching video. Got enough light outside. I'm working on the post that you're going to see in today, in the next hour or so. It's on the Lost Boys of Sudan, but I won't tell you what it's about. You'll see it because I'm working on the notes. It's the story of the Christian kids who were displaced during the Sudanese Civil War, and then the South gained independence, which was Christian part of Sudan from the north, and that's what today's teaching video is on. But the update I want to do, I'm here working on it, and then I might do a little meeting today, a new meeting with some friends I've had for a while. But just a quick update, some thoughts I had. I've been watching some of the news coverage, and I didn't see some of the actual interviews that they're discussing, but I read a lot of I'm making a video, but if I'm reading a site, like a news site, and it says video, I mute that, because I want to read quickly and get the story. But there was a black, I believe, sheriff. I think I've heard him before. He's a black sheriff, I believe a sheriff. He's a good man. I think sometimes he fills in for Sean Hannity on a conservative talk show, and he holds to somewhat, a conservative view. He's anti the Black Lives Matter movement, and all of that's fine. But he got in a debate with the CNN anchor host Don Lemon. And now I didn't see it, but I read a bunch of things. Oh, it was contentious, and I didn't watch it, But then I heard the good talk that one of the other police chiefs gave. I'm assuming it was the chief from the Baton Rouge Police Department, where the 3 cops were shot this past week. More were shot, 6 were shot, 3 were killed. And some of the interesting interaction, I see some of the chiefs and some of the law enforcement leaders. I see them sincerely saying, even Corpus Christi, I saw an interview with Police Chief Mike Markle, just watching Channel 3 or 6 News last night. And what they're saying is, we feel like we're under siege. We feel like, a sense of harassment. They didn't use that word, but they said when we're out, doing our job, we feel, like people are after us. I find it just interesting. The reason why there are laws against actual police harassment, they have terms for things, oppression and so forth. Systems, governmental systems, whether we're talking about Turkey, who the man leading it, Erdogan, who I do not support, those of you, he's doing a crackdown where they shouldn't even be in NATO. Turkey should not even be in NATO. And I just find it so hypocritical that man running Turkey, he's just as wicked as the man running Syria, whose name is Bashar Assad. Just as wicked. He utilizes ISIS himself. They used to have all types of things going on. He cracks down. I think he's arrested 9,000. He judges military guys. He's doing a purging. They don't have the death penalty in Turkey, but he's going to wind up hanging those guys. That guy is wicked. Now, John, but we're backing him. We have our Air Force fighting ISIS, who Turkey supports, though we're using the airport in Turkey in a so-called, what a disaster. Now, the point I'm going to make is this. Systems can become, people can use them to harass. And when I heard this last few days, some of the police chiefs and others basically rightfully say, look, we feel like we're under attack, we feel like, that's a wrong feeling to have, I understand. Nobody should target police, sheriffs, none of that. And I'm not saying they're reaping what they sowed, or karma. I'm not justifying why they feel that way because of the shootings and all. but it's just something to watch because some of them, particularly the Baton Rouge police chief, are basically saying, and some of the things they're saying are good, of course. They're saying, all this must stop. We must think twice. Why? Of course it must stop. But why are they now identifying in a way? They're saying it's not just that we have jobs that are risky. Look, I had a risky job, okay? 25 years as a firefighter. I get that. But they're saying now we feel like we're being watched. Now, the reason there are actual laws against harassment by cops and all is because there is no sense the same. I have a lot of friends that are dangerous, some who have, let's see, any of them charged with murder, maybe, I don't remember over all the years. Some that one was put to death. I didn't know him that well, but that was a Kingsville guy that the group knew. This many years ago. He was put to death. His name was Richard Brimage. So I'm just saying I've had friends that have done. There's no feeling that you have when you're targeted by a department. Now, a department might not approve of it or might not recognize it. There might just be a few. But that sense is much different because what you have, I've often said a lot of my friends that are involved in crime, they might engage, in crime, but they don't have the potential to use all the resources. And when you're going places and you're all over, and a particular people, officers and cars are showing up at your places, and because they went outside in places you've never been to in your life, like a paint store, and they're tracking the phone, probably thinking, oh, let's see, 2 years, 5 years later, let's see if we can catch him. Maybe they thought I was at a club drinking. Because, what would he be? This was a paint store. I went in a cop car. Same cop, actually. Now, that's a form of harassment that's illegal. They don't care that it's illegal. They have no concern that it's illegal until they begin feeling it. This kid, guy, he used the Cosmo name, the one who killed the 3 Baton Rouge cops. And some of the videos, I just linked to them because we've been talking about it. When you see those links, I think I get the link from the Drudge Report because I put news links on posts. I didn't even watch the video. The only parts I saw was what they played on TV. But he basically was saying things like, he bought into an ideology, of course, which I reject. But he basically said, look, he was already contemplating dying. Because he said, look, when our bodies die, he was influenced by radical Islam as well as he got into that other group, that sovereignty group. A lot of things played in his mind. But he basically said, okay, I've determined I'm going to make a decision. And his decision was wrong. It was unjust. But he said, by my actions of targeting the cops, we're going to cause them to rethink. Look, that's what is actually happening. Now, I'm not justifying it. And I heard a comment, and I don't know if it was a black news lady. I just heard it through all the news I watched, who said he was a martyr. The black guys, I don't agree with that, but I'm saying I heard that comment. They said, oh, no, look. Now, because of some deaths, which I do not approve of or agree, they said, now they're rethinking. But as I listened to the officers, the 32-year-old black Baton Rouge cop who was killed, he was prophetic. He was prophetic. Now, did God know that officer was going to be killed? Now, God knew it. I'm not saying God justified it. God knows everything. But that black officer, a few days before he was murdered, the Baton Rouge cop, he wrote a very interesting thing on Facebook. I saw this on the news. And he said, he looked like just a gentle giant, okay? Rush Limbaugh made fun of one of the black victims of cops a few years ago, but gentle giant is actually what this black cop from Baton Rouge looked like. He almost had the face, I hate to say it, maybe now I'm thinking like Alton Sterling, which is sad. A big black man. little heavy set, but like a happy face, almost like a child. And that black cop, a few days before, wrote on Facebook, he said, you know, I love my city, Baton Rouge. He said, but I don't feel loved. He said, I feel like the way you would describe it is like a harassment, being watched, being looked at. And he said, even when I'm out of uniform, I'm still looked at as a threat. Now look, he's showing you inherent racism right there. I heard testimonies in the last 6 months or year from black cops who will tell you, and this would be the other view, black cops who will tell you that they are racially profiled all the time when they're in areas or cities where they are not known that they're cops. They get pulled over, they get looked at. They will tell you that. So I would answer to the white cops who say it does not exist. Are you calling your fellow black officers liars? Are you saying your fellow black officers who are cops, who lay their life on the line, are you saying they're full of shit? So you rethink you. It's so, because I'm watching, and that black 32-year-old, I forget his name, but the one that was killed, he wrote that, but he said he appealed for healing. He said, all this must stop. Yes. Yes. Do you know how many appeals I've seen on TV these last 6 or 8 years? Whether it's a family member of a black man who was killed, or a black child who was killed, or an Abner Louima, or whatever. Many of those appeals we mock as a society. When you see maybe the child, the young 15-year-old boy of Alton Sterling, crying, his mother gave the thing. We look at it, some people look at it like, well, he shouldn't have been in front of the store. That's exactly what the Black Lives Matter movement is saying. You don't see it. You don't see the, regardless of all the other altercation that led to a certain thing, you still don't see the value that somebody actually died. And some people laugh about it. And now this week, I'm seeing, rightfully so, police chiefs and others. The police chief of Baton Rouge, look, he spoke well. You know, that he was given an interview, he said, I'm asking the country to pray for us. I saw him last night on PBS News. So yes, and the thing I'm saying is, the whole idea of the harassment, that goes on, though it's illegal, though the police chiefs have aware their officers, some are doing it, that just goes on. It's different when, and if you have crime, like in this city, we've had a big problem with domestic violence. I believe the murders are double already, the homicide rate for this year. I think it's 12 or 13. That's like, maybe it's more than like previous years for the whole year, and we're only in July. You say, well, it's a big thing if cops are spending their whole life. I just don't understand policing, because I explain to you I'm going to go to Kingsville or Bishop, or even when I go to my daughter's out by Alice. The time consumed with the traffic stops, the targeting, and many of them, you need there needs to be a whole realignment of what policing is. Okay? I don't rejoice in the fact that I saw some of these cops and chiefs this last few days saying, please, please, we have to have peace. Please understand, we feel like we're under attack. Look, there are many in the black community that are happy about it, okay? The more radical. I'm not happy about it that you're saying that now. It's just an amazing thing, though, to watch. It's an amazing thing to hear police chiefs and others say, you don't understand. We feel like we're being targeted. Look, I'm not justifying it. Yes, that's exactly what it is. And when you do that, when officers do that on a regular basis, and they laugh their asses off when they do it, on a regular basis, and it will never stop. It will never stop. They will target that family, the kid they framed over there. They'll go after the family of the people that videotape. They'll arrest the wives, the kids. That goes on. Don't ever think that's ever going to stop. Because you've reached a point of so much of the way it is that will never stop. I do my best to avoid. I don't go to places. I stay off certain highways. I do my best to avoid. Because they're predators. When they're looking, nothing to do. Parked on a certain highway, a certain country. Look, I've known it my whole life, okay? I've known it my whole life, believe me. I used to work with those guys. They do that. They got nothing better to do sometimes. I had an SO guy. This is the same guy that shot a dog, murdered a dog on the beach. He used to be part of a gang family, and he became a sheriff's deputy in Clayburgh County many years ago. I hope he's fired by now. He was from a family that some of my friends back in that day knew, which was, some of them actually were involved with murders and went, well, he was from a family like that. But he became a sheriff's deputy, which was okay. I knew his sisters and all. But man, I remember one time, I'm positive it had to be him. I was coming back from work. It's another case. And he must have been doing 100 miles an hour. I had a Dodge truck coming back on Country Road 70 where we used to have a lot of wrecks. And look, today I'd be more upset. He must have done 100, and I thought he was going to go on a run. It's just me and him on a long country road. At minimum of 100, maybe 120. And I thought he was going to pass me. He got right up to my bumper and screeched, stopped. He was trying to get me to, sides the thing. And I looked out my window like, what the? I was getting off of work. I was coming back to, that's it. What are you doing? Trying to murder people on a regular basis? And you will never stop, will you? You will never stop that. I'm telling you, they will never stop that. That element will never stop that. And I called 911. I was coming right through Bishop, coming back to Corpus Christi. I said, I don't know who it is. It's Clayburgh County deputy. So that guy almost ran me off the road. I said, get that nut off the highway. And I'm sure they laughed their ass off about it. That is a regular thing. I am telling you, and Michael Clark, is that your name? The black sheriff? Go ahead. Talk about how much you're under attack. What about your men that do shit like that? We have a name for Michael Clark. We say Uncle Tom. Oh, you harass the public on a regular basis. And you have absolute no ability to stop the criminal acts of your men. And I can give you case after case after case after case of running people off the road, following people, breaking every fucking law under the book. And you got the balls to go on TV and say, we feel like we're under fire. Obey the fucking law. I heard you, I think it's the same guy when he comes on the Sean Hannity show, I shut him off. Because if I had a fucking firefighter under me that was committing arsons and murdering and killing people, and then I just sat my ass back and didn't do shit about it, that's how you all take care of your men. You let that shit go on. You justify your men raping fucking women, beating the shit out of kids on a fucking regular basis, Michael Clark. You justify that. And don't give me some shit, you're the people's sheriff. I've heard your voice on the radio. I don't want to hear your voice on the radio. That's my view. You have no right to speak out about injustice because you are not dealing with it in your own group, Michael Clark. You carry out acts of violence against citizens on a regular fucking basis. I just gave you 1 out of a fucking million. Who do you think you are running civilians off the road, being like predators? Give you the case, what about the cop that raped the shit out of somebody's children? And then the father was pissed off about it. and you let that go on. You laugh your asses off. Harassment is when you get in your vehicles, getting paid, being on income, and even today, right now, there's illegal stops that are going to be done all day. And you say, we feel like we're under pressure. Get your house in order, Michael Clark. Get your house in order. You want to be a voice of justice, then you look at your own house too. Because that's what, every time I've heard you speak, you're unable to do that. You're unable to do it. And I didn't watch the interview he gave with Don Lemon, but I'm assuming because I've heard his skewed view. If you want to be a black conservative, that's your prerogative. But I speak to you as a white, non-liberal, non-conservative and say, many of your men throughout this country are doing unjustly. And I can give you case after case after case after case, and it will be done today. In the last 2 weeks, I heard, the one clip I heard from him was, we have five, I don't justify the death of any officer. And he said, we've had 5 dead, and why? That's why I'm upset, he said. Be upset for the victims of cops too, that murder. Were you upset when the Laquan McDonald was killed? And every cop lied about it. Every police chief, every law enforcer lied about it. And you had black witnesses say, these cops are lying. And all of you, Michael Clarks, also defamed the witnesses who were telling the truth. And the cops in Chicago, all the way up to the mayor, were lying about those black witnesses and even target those black witnesses. And some refer to those black witnesses as a bunch of niggers. And then a video came out, and it showed every one of you cops and law enforcement in that Chicago shooting lied your asses off. But yet you made fun of the victims of that murder. You like, let them talk all they want. You want to be about justice, then deal with your own house. Listen to what the 32-year-old wonderful Baton Rouge officer, black, listen to what he said. He said, when I'm in uniform, I feel like a target. And it's wrong for him to feel that way. I know he feels that way, but I'm saying he shouldn't have to feel that way. And he said, but when I'm not in uniform, I feel like I'm a target too. So this is what I would say to you, Michael Clark. There are many black cops in this country that will say they are racially profiled by white cops all the time. And you, Michael Clark, deny it. So how could you say that about your own brothers in the department? Because that's what you say. You even say they're lying. Because I've heard enough of you. You're so-called people's sheriff. There are black cops that say they get profiled by white cops. And I do know that Don Lemon said to Michael Clark, keep it down. He said, I can't keep it down either. You need to be for justice on all sides. I have no, Michael Clark, I tell you, when I used to hear him come on Sean Hannity, I shut him off. But I could listen to the chief of Baton Rouge because I could see that he's trying to deal with it. And Clark is just a political mouth. And I got no time for guys like Michael Clark because they're not looking at the problem. They're not, and I see them as Uncle Toms. Uncle Tom, Harriet Beecher Stowe. Who is Harriet Beecher Stowe? Do you have an education at all, Michael Clark? Do you have the intellect of a 6-year-old or maybe 10? She was the son of a famous preacher, Lyman Beecher. And Harriet Beecher came from the group that recognized, these are the white abolitionists, Okay? These are the great white men who felt called of God and recognized there was racism. Not like Michael Clark, who doesn't believe it exists. And she wrote the famous Uncle Tom's Cabin. Uncle Tom's Cabin. And she showed even in her own, the daughter of a preacher man, how some black people, even they find an identity by siding with those who are racists. They find an identity in that. There are some black preachers who pride themselves in the fact that they will never speak out against an injustice. And so, the white abolitionists, they had the guts to be able to recognize it. And I'm sorry for the officers and all that feel like they're under attack or under harassment. They shouldn't feel that way. But I'll tell you, the people that are targeting, which are doing wrong, they don't have this, they're not getting salaries, they're not getting paid, they don't have the organization that cops that carry out crimes and harassment have. They have the money, they have the finances, they can get on the radio, call all the way to North Bergen, New Jersey, make a phone call. This is from the Corpus Christi Police Department. There's a guy's number, he had a DUI, keep an eye on him. Who the fuck has that type of capability? Michael Clark? I'm asking you. So, you're the people's sheriff, I think you're Uncle Tom. How's that? We'll name this Michael Clark as Uncle Tom. Because you won't look at it, and you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. So I didn't say the F word on the other video, but you'll get it on this one. Now today you're going to be doing it. There'll be cops today harassing people. Today they'll be parked in areas, and they're going to work, and they got nothing else to do today. But they're collecting a check, they get the resources of a cop car and a gun, and they're going to sit around and wait to break the law. Today. They will break it by lying their asses off by pulling over Hispanics and blacks. For the one purpose, because to them, the black and Hispanic looks suspicious. And they will break the fucking law today. And they're just sitting on the highway right now, about 20 miles from here, waiting to break the law. Not even one intent of being a law-abiding peace officer. Not even one intent. And I'll watch them as I drive up and down that highway. And when they pull me over and they see my fire department badge, they think, he's one of us. Don't worry, brother. We're out looking for blacks. So the Michael Clarks, you're part of the problem, Michael Clark, people's sheriff. And there are many in the radical black community who I do not justify. And they're watching the result of the targeting of officers, which we condemn. And now they're hearing some chiefs and others say, please, you don't understand what we're going through. And I'm not saying good on them. I'm saying, no shit. And the ones who are deranged enough to shoot an officer, they're accomplishing what they wanted to accomplish. There's a conversation going on where chiefs are getting up and saying, we got to relook, we got to read that. And I'm telling you, they cannot fix that problem. They cannot fix it. Here's my Declaration of Independence. Jefferson Penn, the owner of slaves. I could do history on it. It wasn't his fault. He wanted to release him. Virginia had a law you couldn't release him, but I'm not doing history on it now. He said, the reason we are mounting a revolution, he said, was because you have sent forth your officers to harass our people. You got a brain, Michael? You got a fucking brain? The very reason you're the people's sheriff is because people said we're tired of officers harassing our people. and we revolted. Maybe we should educate people before they have a talk radio show. So, how long did we go today? Recognize it. Recognize it. The victim, one of the cops who was black in Baton Rouge, who was unjustly murdered and unjustly targeted. And the man that targeted him, there are officers in this country that on a daily basis target, harass, and go after citizens. Constantly. Constantly. Without one intent of ever keeping law. There's a percentage all across this country. And if you, Michael Clark, and anybody else, whether you're in black skin or white skin or green skin, if you are so ignorant to not even be able to see it, but you get upset only when it happens to people that you affiliate with, and you have the incapacity to identify with the other, then you're just as racist as any white racist ever was. Because bias, it says in the book of James, don't be prejudiced. Don't look upon the well-to-do, and then you see those that are in oppression, and you just feel like you fit in with the well-to-do. Regardless of your skin, regardless of how bad you feel about a particular person, you need to have that empathy for them all. I don't justify any criminal who breaks the law and legitimately threatens an officer's life by pulling a gun. And if you are a criminal, be you black or white, and you're engaged in a crime, and an officer is simply doing his job, which some of them do, and then he gets a call and says there's a break-in, and then he goes, and then sure enough he finds somebody that broke in, and sure enough that person that broke in has a weapon on him, and sure enough it looks like he's pulling the weapon. That's justified. That cop shoots that man, woman, or whoever it is, it's justified. And I saw some recently where officers said multiple times, stop, or I'm going to have to shoot you. Don't make me shoot you. Stop, don't make me shoot. At that point, that officer is justified. But we need to re-examine when the use of deadly force is actually justified. Because in many cases, they're using it and it's not justified. People's Sheriff. Every time I heard him come on the Sean Hannity show, 1 to 2 times I listened to him. And I don't care if you're black or white. Your views are wrong and they're ignorant. Because you deny the reality. You deny the reality that racial profiling exists. You deny it. You deny the power of harassment that officers use throughout this country on a daily basis. You deny that. You deny it. You deny the inability for local police chiefs, no matter how well-meaning they are, to call in one of their men and to say to their men, we had a complaint and this and that guy will leave that office and he will go beat the shit out of the person that reported him. And it puts that person that reported him on notice that, wow. And then all of the department in that city, wherever it is now looked at as the enemy to that person. Because he cannot discern whether it's some new female rookie that just got on the job, which I feel bad for them. Because they're young, they're trying to get into a thing. But that the victim that got the shit beat out of him by a criminal cop, and the criminal cop follows that guy. Not me, but the guy that got the shit beat out of him. And then he doesn't know when he's walking on the other side of town and he sees a cop car. It might be an innocent female 25-year-old rookie. And that criminal, 40-something-year-old criminal cop, 50-year-old criminal cop involved in every criminal, he drives the same vehicle she drives. And so you have a multiple feeling of harassment. Because it just so happens there's 100 and something of them driving all over town. And you never know. And the Michael Clarks of the world say, we feel like we're in the target. You don't feel it that way, brother. Uncle Tom, you don't feel it that way, Uncle Tom. Because you don't have marked gangs saying Black Lives Matter on the side of the vehicle, roaming the streets where you live, parking outside of your house. You don't have it that way. So open your eyes. Become educated. Pass a law that if you're as ignorant as Michael Clark, don't speak on the radio. I'll title it, Michael Clark is Uncle Tom.